I want to begin here by sending our condolences to the victims that were lost in the Charlottesville shooting here. And when we had Alexa Bello on our last show, she did bring that up here, and that's our hot topic for for to start off with here, where a rally of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and alt-righters in Charlottesville, Virginia, were protesting the potential removal of a Confederate General Robert E. Lee statue that led to many violent clashes with counter-protests and 3 deaths after a car plowed into a crowd and a state police helicopter was crashed. The march began on the weekend of August 11th through the 13th, 2017. Chaos and violence erupted on August 12th, and the new guy tweeted in response to the Charlottesville rally stating, "We all must be united and condemn all that hate that stands for. There is no place for this kind of violence in America. Let's come together as one." Now, you realize that he never even brought up any type of racism or white supremacists in his statement here. Like, what's going on?
Basically, I think it's just a neutral opinion or a neutral perspective, because to nitpick the white supremacists and this and that, he's not blaming anyone in particular. He's just blaming the fact that it has gotten to a violent point and that needs to stop. And to be quite honest, I think anyone else would have said the same thing. Mm-hmm. Usually, he's not my favorite person, but here he makes a neutral point. So I don't see the harm in his tweet as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. Even though I wish he would just say it in a press conference as opposed to just tweeting all the time.
Well, honestly, I think that he had help from his daughter.
Really?
Writing this tweet, but that's another thing.
Oh my God!
I don't want to go. I don't really want to go into that. I think he's keeping it as general as possible, because if he says anything, it's just not gonna be nice. I mean, clearly, he's a very honest individual, and you know this. If I didn't know who Donald Trump was and I read this, I would think he's a very nice person, or great intentions, very nice man.
Well, that's if he didn't commit any, whats from the past, and if he was running as a Democrat, not to get off topic, but would you really vote for him if he was a Democrat?
I mean, honestly,
because to me,
that would make it very hard.
Yeah, it would be very hard. For me, I would stay neutral to this, because
I want to stay neutral to this too, because I want to say so many things, and then somebody's gonna come up and be like, "What you talking about?" and then try to shut me up. And then I really, honestly think that every president should just be psychologically evaluated in front of everybody in America. That should happen.
Yes, I wanna bring up a statement that was released by the FBI from August 12th, and they said that the Richmond FBI field office, the Civil Rights Division, and the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Virginia have opened a civil rights investigation in circumstances of the deadly vehicle incident that occurred earlier on that day, Saturday morning, August 12th. And the FBI will collect all available facts and evidence, and as this ongoing evidence, we will not be able to comment or further at this time. Your thoughts on what the FBI is doing?
That sounds like a typical authority response to any crime going on. I mean, yeah, that's usually the first thing they will report once a crime first breaks out. They say we won't have any more further comment until we've actually had thorough investigation. That's usually what you hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also they want to prevent people from rioting, because the media has so much power and people react. They're always on automatic. So you have to be careful of the information that you put out there to the public, because people react and you don't know how they're going to react. Right. It's best, I think, for them right now to reserve the information, because there are people who are capable of understanding the information being given, but other people don't know how to take it.
Right. Yeah, they just don't know how to take it seriously. But
I think they know how to. I think they definitely know how people will react now. So I think that's why they're saying it. Because clearly you're seeing it.
Yes, but here's the thing I want to point out that there has been information that the New York Times brought up here about the killer who committed this crime of the car crashing into the crowd of pedestrians, and
Right.
his name was James Alex Fields, and he was he was from Ohio, and was charged with second-degree murder in Charlottesville on that day of that incident, where he smashed a car into a line of cars that left a 32-year-old woman dead, and her name was Heather Hayer. Forgot what her last name is, but I know her name was Heather though. But
Yeah.
but 19 people were injured when this, and from what I could understand when I heard that there were a few people out of the possible 19 that were injured, they were recovered they were coming out from the hospital, and there were just most of this was just crowded by the white nationalists here, and it's like, what could we do just to prevent this here? Like, because I look at it as if this was just one of the most deadliest acts I've ever seen, and like we have to find a way, because this has been going on for even decades, even not even before Obama was president or Bush was president, but it's been going on for a long time, where there had been the KKKs, neo-Nazis, and especially in the times when Hitler was around and so forth. But it's like, I don't know what else to say here.
Well, I guess in terms of like what to do with everything, I think that's how to handle the chaos in Charlottesville is going to be a very difficult task, and I think that's why even Trump, even though people see him as like not doing anything, when you kind of take a whole look at the whole thing, what do you do about something like that? Like, they could arrest everyone if that's the case, but I don't even know what to do with them. I would have like maybe if there haven't been enough police, I guess I would say do more about it. Like have them be a little more aggressive in a sense of like really try to restrain people if they're actually going too far.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this was any other protest, they probably would have done that. So here, I think that's why they're like, why isn't he doing anything? I'm like, there's cops there, but some people feel like they're not doing enough. But
Yeah.
I would just do that if that's the case. But I don't know. It's gotten so chaotic. But the thing is, their protests have been shot down a few times. So, if anything, the groups are just becoming aggressive, and the authorities are really actually doing their job. Because there was a documentary showing that they were trying to march to a particular location, and they just wouldn't allow, and authorities wouldn't allow it. So clearly, they're having some control there, especially after the biggest day where the car struck. So.
Okay, so we got other tweets on violence in Charlottesville. Hillary Clinton wrote, "My heart is in Charlottesville, and with everyone made me feel unsafe, made to feel unsafe in their country." Bill Clinton wrote, "Even as we protect free speech and assembly, we must condemn hatred, violence, and white supremacy." Hashtag Charlottesville.
Yeah, and then Barack Obama, our former president, tweeted a quote from Nelson Mandela, if you want to read that. So,
People must learn to hate. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. By Nelson Mandela.
Yep. So, like, what do you have to say about that? Because I feel as though you're listening about three well-known politicians and experienced politicians who've been down this road or seen it all happen, and they probably might be crushing the new guy already here. Right. But what's your thoughts?
Well, In terms of like the tweets, or
in terms of the tweets, or in general, basically, or
like what do I think of what exactly?
like, because, well, let me just bring up one other thing, because the governor of Virginia, or whoever it was, I think it was the governor of Virginia, because he did
Virginia
make
Gov?
yeah, the governor of Virginia, he did mention something about why they should not be here, because they're just here to start violence and not create peace and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, that's actually become the group's goal. Like, and there was a documentary floating around Facebook that showed that that's what they wanted. A few people that they interviewed said that they want to have the right to be violent. I don't know why. Like, I get that I even forget why they're protesting in the first place.
Yeah, that's
They don't want to be replaced by Jews, apparently, for I don't know what reason.
right. I don't
So
know.
I don't see the reason. I think that's why it's considered like a whole hate thing, because it's like they just want to be violent to get their message across. I'm like, why do you need to be violent? Because other people have gotten violent. It's not because I get it. People have chosen to, but the fact that you want to doesn't exactly help you either.
Well, I actually agree with Barack Obama's tweet because, it's more about learning. You learn hate. Hate is not something that you carry within you. And love is more powerful, more natural to us, because the first thing that we learn when we are born is love by our mother. We cry and we yearn for touch, for our mother's touch.
Right.
First thing that we must learn when we are born is to have our mother's touch.
Yes, because love, there's a saying that they call love conquers hate here.
Yeah, always, because love is more powerful than hate. Hate is weak. Hate is the reason why people die. And clearly, look what's going on in the world.
Yes. But I just want to bring up one thing here, that we actually have a clip here where Anthony Scaramucci appeared on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and he was basically on Trump, of why he didn't talk about white supremacists, and this is like the main subject. Do we have the clip ready? Yeah. Let's take a look at it here.
I think he needed to be much harsher as it related to the white supremacists and the nature of that. I applaud General McMaster for calling it out for what it is. It's actually terrorism, and whether it's domestic or international terrorism, with the moral authority of the presidency, you have to call that stuff out.
But the question is, why didn't the president do that? You know him well.
Well, I think Alex mentioned one of the reasons why he doesn't like doing that. He likes doing the opposite of what the media thinks he's going to do. I think he's also of the impression that there is hatred on all sides. But I disagree with it. And so, but here's the thing, whether I was the White House communications director or not, I don't think you're going to change the president. The president's going to do what he wants to do, how he wants to do it.
And that's the fact right there. Like, when is he ever going to change and become positive? That's my main question. I would like to know.
Well, it sounds like I may have been mishearing him, but he says that he disagrees with the fact that Trump thinks that there's hate on both sides. So clearly, he's not necessarily on his side, but he shows understanding of what his mindset is like. Like, he's someone. It's like he's that into his ways. Like, it's his way or the highway. You're not really going to change his mind. You can go against it.
I think in his mind, from his perspective, he means what he understands is good, like, and from his mind, you know. But it doesn't, like, he wants to be positive, but he wants to bring his ego along with him too.
Yeah.
But like, he doesn't know that. He just understands that this is what I think is right, so this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this here. Like, in terms of racism, even though it's been around for a long time, and LeBron James has said this before, racism has been part of America for a long time, and we have to face the reality, whether it comes to hate or love. But we have to face the reality. And not only that, none of us here is leaving at all, because we're going to be here no matter what from day and night, because we have our lives that we have to struggle, face, and fight through in order to avoid all the violence and negativity that is happening around us. Because if you watch between MSNBC and CNN, there's always been like heated discussions about race and white supremacy after the incident happened in Charlottesville. And this just, you know, I don't,
I just think that getting agitated doesn't help anything, because you know, this is goes back to, like, what do we have a choice? Like, we're gonna have to do some national meditation or something, because honestly, this whole getting agitated and back and forth thing never works, and it has proven not to work.
yeah, what
like,
choice
for
do
centuries.
we have is
you
the
know?
question, you know?
We have the choice. Everyone has the choice to do whatever they want at the end of the day. You know, like
it's true.
even like, you know, one of the things from God is that we have free will. Like, a lot of people actually wonder why, if God is so good, why does he allow things to happen? Why does he allow bad things to happen? It's because he has given us the freedom of choice, the choice of freedom. And if he were to interfere in every single thing that goes on, then that eliminates that. Now, it's not to justify violence or hate, but you have the choice to either go either route. Either you're going to hate people and be violent, or you be loving to people and bring peace to it. Obviously, the world has decided to go a little more towards hate, and it's always been a little bit of both. It's always been an extreme of both. So you're not really going to have one without the other. But, you know, in this day and age, there have been some demonstrations of more of loving each other, because I think we have learned so much from history that you know what, hating is not the answer. You'd be surprised how many people I run into that are just like, they know that what's going on is not right. Like, I've yet to meet anyone that's like, I've had my share of meeting people that are like a little racist, but that's like one interaction maybe in my whole life. And yeah, even in this day and age, the news can broadcast all they want, but when you think about it, and I agree with this post that I saw on Facebook, if you were to turn off the news and actually talk to your neighbor, you'll see how much there's more love than actually hate. The news just wants to broadcast what comes off as drama, you know, so.
And then also I had to add something, because this is also like powerful, because everybody watches the news, right? Everybody watches the news. If you check on the statistics of people who watch TV, like, yo, everybody watches TV. But check out what everybody's doing. So you can see, and people know the influence that information has in their minds, and how they live their life on a daily basis, and how the average person lives their life on a daily basis. So it's not to tell you not to watch the news, but how much do you let it take control of your emotions and your actions?
Yeah, true. Like, the news is good for just to be, like, if you're someone who you feel like you become easily influenced by what the news broadcasts, like, if you're someone who becomes very anxious, like I had that issue myself, use the news to just be aware, but don't let it lead to paranoia, because sometimes that's all it is. Some of it, unfortunately, is true. The world is going to go in crazy directions, whether we like it or not, but to some extent, it is more exaggerated than what it is. So just keep it in the sense of just being informed, but don't let it influence you to the point where you're just going to go crazy over nothing. So, yeah.
Yes. What do you think about that, David?
Well, we'll just see what happens, and hopefully, because one day the world is going to be a better place where there's no violence and nothing happens, and the media is doing their part in getting the facts with, like, what they did with Charlottesville. They go dig deeper into it, ask the questions of what's happening and all that and so forth, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing and to get the information out to all of us here.
Yeah. The news has not changed. It's just more craziness. But, you know,
I wish there was more balance, you know,
Yeah.
more balance because, yeah, there's terrible things happening in the world and, you know, it sucks that they happen. You know, look at those people in Charlottesville, 19 people injured. And that's just terrible, but, you know, feeling terrible about things doesn't really solve anything, you know. You want to help someone, pray for them. You know, you want to disregard that God exists, but feeling terrible about it also is like counterproductive.
Yeah.
It's counterproductive. So, you know, there's a lot of great things also happening in the world. And if we focus on more positive things to happen in the world, I guarantee that more positive things will happen in the world. And love will defeat hate
Every time.
every time.
Yeah. So all this craziness, that's not forever.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So